Home Office Minister for Immigration, Tom Pursglove. Hi, it's good to see you.
Hi,
Thanks
nice
for joining
to
us on the programme, much appreciated. We have to start with Lee Anderson, don't we? Whatever we think of him. Do you believe his comments were racist?
I think that what Lee said was completely unacceptable. It was wrong, and that was why the Chief Whip has withdrawn the whip from him. He was obviously given the opportunity to apologise. He chose not to do that, and I think it was right that we took the steps that we did and that we did that in a way that didn't see this drag on, in a way that actually, in terms of what happened in Rochdale with the Labour candidate, we saw that play out over days and days. I think that was completely unacceptable, and so I'm pleased that we took the approach that we did.
I understand that, Minister, but was he racist?
I don't think personally that Lee is racist, but what he said was unacceptable. He shouldn't have said it. I think it's perfectly possible for you to be able to talk about the Mayor of London's record, to raise legitimate issues about, for example, the policing of protest, about the fact that those very concerning messages were beamed onto the side of Parliament. All of those are perfectly proper and legitimate points of debate, but it shouldn't have been done in the terms that it was done in.
Yeah. Israel, what's the way back for him?
Again, it's for party business managers to make decisions about who is in receipt of the whip. And, you know, I would much have preferred Lee to have withdrawn the comments, to have apologised for what he said, because I think that would have been the right thing to do, and it would have avoided that situation in terms of having to have the whip removed. He just shouldn't have debated the issue in the church.
Sure. I mean, you're a senior member of the government. Do you get the impression that if he says sorry, then he will be allowed back into the fold?
I honestly don't know. That will be a matter for the party managers to make decisions around. But I do think it would be better if Lee were to apologise, if he were to withdraw those comments. And I have no issue at all.
Not going to, is he?
But I have no issue.
I've been looking at what he said last night. He's doubled down on it.
And again, I think some of the points of substance that he wants to debate and that he wants to raise his opinions on are perfectly legitimate. And I would support him in doing that. And I think he would actually find himself in a better position to be able to do that if he apologised for his comments, withdrew them and moved on.
OK. What do you make of what Paul Scully has to say about no-go zones, both in London and in Birmingham?
So I don't recognise that depiction. And you'll appreciate that as the legal migration minister, one of the really important parts of the role is around integration. When you consider the work that we do around resettlement, when you consider the Afghan cohort that we've brought across in response to the situation there with the Taliban taking control of Afghanistan, when you think about our response to Ukraine and the amazing response we've seen from the public to bring Ukrainians into our homes and to support them and to provide that sanctuary, and when you think about the asylum system, my role really focuses in on integration support. It was a key part of the new plan for immigration. And so when you look at the support that we provide, it has a big focus on trying to help people into work, to take on those opportunities. That's a really important part of it. You look at our visa system, English language requirements are part of that. So I don't recognise the depiction that was set out in Paul's comments. And as government, we take it really seriously that we need to play our part in helping people integrate into society.
Should he withdraw those comments?
I just think I haven't actually seen directly all of the substance of what Paul said. I haven't seen the interview, but I'm aware of the sort of broad thrust of what it was that he said. But I just don't recognise those comments. He
said Tower Hamlets is a no-go area, talking specifically about London.
Yeah, so I wouldn't describe Tower... In fact, I went to university in Tower Hamlets.
So you should withdraw that?
I think it would be best, again, if that comment was withdrawn. I don't recognise that as being the situation in London or in Birmingham, but we as politicians must always be forward-leaning and on the front foot when it comes to integrating people into our communities and to make sure that people are able to play a full contribution in UK society.
Reading this morning, there's a £15 million package for MPs, safety, bodyguards, security improvements and the like. Is this something that the Home Office is involved with?
So the Security Minister and the Policing Minister have been very involved in working with the parliamentary authorities and the police in tackling this issue. I think it's a thoroughly depressing state of affairs, if I'm honest, that we need any of this. We should be able to go about our business as politicians without threats, without intimidation, being able to express the issues that our constituents care about. I find it thoroughly depressing, actually, and that's why I think all of us in political life have to weigh the words that we use when we talk about issues that are pertinent to the day. That is something that I always try to do in the work that I do as an MP and as a government minister. I think it's just thoroughly depressing, isn't it? There's a need for anybody to have security, for anybody to have security guards accompanying them.
Do you feel, Minister, sorry to interrupt you, do you feel that you have to temper your language at the moment, given the threats that some MPs are facing?
I think it's really important that we as parliamentarians are not cowed in saying the things we need to say, having the difficult conversations we need to have, and we must do that in robust terms, and we should always debate the substance of issues. That's fundamental to a democracy. You know, when you talk to people around the world, our parliament is the envy of democracies and those who aspire to have democracy. And so we tamper with that at our peril. But the temperature does need to come down around a lot of the debate that we have about a whole host of different issues. And so I do hope that all of us as politicians can redouble our efforts to try and bring the temperature down, focus on the substance, because we set the standard and we lead by example on this.
OK, I'm not sure that we were the envy of the world last week when it descended into absolute chaos, when you were discussing what was going to happen with the Gaza motion by the SNP. Do you still have confidence in Lindsay Hoyle?
I think that what happened last week was really disappointing, and it undoubtedly, the decision that was taken around the alteration of the procedure cannibalised the SNP's, their legitimate SNP opposition day was cannibalised because, simply put,
that's not my question.
What happens
Minister. Come on, Minister.
Well, no, but it sort of goes directly to your question, because it meant that they couldn't have the opportunity to vote on the motion that they wanted to debate, that they had tabled. I do personally think that the Speaker needs to work very hard to regain the confidence of the House. That has undoubtedly been quite a difficult issue for Parliament. I, to be honest with you, was really quite upset about what happened, very disappointed about what happened, because I think, again, the point is that you tamper with the way that Parliament works at your peril, because it has all those consequences that we saw play out.
Minister, we only have a finite amount of time. Do you have confidence in Lindsay Hoyle?
I personally do have confidence in Lindsay Hoyle. I think he can retrieve the situation, but it's going to take a lot of leadership on his part.
Home Secretary's in the US, again, travelling around. Quite a lot of criticism about him doing that sort of thing, rather than being back here doing his job in the UK. I'm sure you want to defend him.
I think it's critical, actually, that senior government ministers from the UK get out on the world stage and make the arguments for the work that we're doing. When it comes to migration, we are seeing increasing flows of people on the move. That is only likely to sustain itself or perhaps even increase. And so we need global solutions. We need to look at this in a way that is joined up, where we work with our international partners to address some of those challenges. Economic development is really an important part of that, to try and support more people to stay in their countries of origin. But also, when you think about some of the work that we have led the way on previously, working with the UNHCR and others, for example, taking some of the most vulnerable people from around the world and providing them sanctuary here, you have to have sustainable migration flows to be able to manage this issue. That's all about fairness. It's also about just simply being able to have the practicalities in place to support people.
I know that you'll want to comment on this. Story in the papers this morning saying that house builders are being investigated by the competitions regulator over concerns that they could be working together to limit the supply of new homes and keep prices high. I know that your government wants to build 300,000 houses, new houses a year. Surely you need to look at that.
So I've not seen the specifics of that report, and that's one that I will most definitely take away and raise with housing colleagues. But look, you know, getting on and building new homes has got to be mission critical for any government.
What if they're acting as a cartel
and again,
to keep prices
high? Well, I'm sure that is something that ministers will want to look at, to see if there are any issues there that need to be addressed, and I'm sure that we would take steps as appropriate to address it. But getting on and building new homes is a really important priority for the government. It's something that comes across in so many of the conversations that we have as MPs in our communities, particularly trying to help get young people onto the housing ladder. So I'm sure that ministerial colleagues will want to look really carefully at that.
Good to see you, Minister. Thanks for taking the time. Very much appreciated. Thank you.